Okay, welcome everyone to our class in iyun Gemara. This is the first stage, really, where we're analyzing a piece of Torah and Gemara, and then we're going to have to be more conscious, really, in the next stage about what we did using Bezat Hashem, using the books that we did to integrate them more in a conscious way. Right now, we're doing it more in an organic way. So what happened here in this piece? We started off with the pasuk of Meitav Sadeh, Meitav Karmo. That was what the Torah said you had to pay. We went into Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shmuel, and the Gemara concluded that this is one of the payments you have to pay back when you damage someone. That's a conclusion. Once that happened, so Abaya had a problem because there's another pasuk that talks about payment, which is Kesef and Shavik Kesef. So now we have three different alternatives in the Torah: Meitav Sadeu, to pay back for your to pay back damages that the person did to the Nizak, or Kesef and Shavik Kesef through a ribu of the word Yashiv. So that was where we were. Then we entered into the level of the Rishonim. Now the Rishonim had two problems with this Gemara, because the Gemara ends with seemingly two answers to the problem of the relationship of Meitav and Metaltalin, and also Kesef, according to Rav Huna. So Rav Papa, seeing the way we were learning it with the Rush and how we understood the Rif, is that they're all equal alternatives. The Torah was saying, according to Rav Papa, that really the most important thing is money, and Shavik Kesef is equal to money. That was the Chiddush of the word Yashiv, and Meitav Sadehu is equal to Shavik Kesef, which is equal to money. The only thing you can't use is Bainis and Zibbers. And that was how we understood Rav Papa. And Rav Huna, so we understood him, that there's two alternatives, Kesef or Meitav, and if you don't have Kesef or Meitav, then and only then can you use Metaltalin. So Metaltalin is the poor, drops down a level to the poor stepsister that can't use it only if you don't have Kesef or Meitav. So that's where we left the Gemara. Now, we have problems now, because what's the halacha? What was the conclusion of the Gemara? So the Rush went to tells us the Rif is like Rav Papa, and we read Tosfos, it brings Rabbeinu Tam on Daf Tes with Rav Huna. It says the halacha is like Rav Huna, and that was the worldview that we had, really, from the Rush. And the Rush paskin like Rav Papa and Rav Huna, because they were Basrai with all the pilpul that we went through. Fine. So everything was fine in our small worldview. We had the Rush explain to us Rav Papa, and that's the halacha, that's the Rif, and Rabbeinu Tam is on the side of Rav Huna. That was our worldview. When we looked at the Rishonim, all of a sudden that worldview became a little more extensive. The Nemuki Yosef, who is a late Rishon, brings us the Ramah with a Hey and the Rambam. We could have looked at the Rambam myself also, but he brings both of them, and he explains that for them there's a hierarchical system. When Rav Papa learned his rule that Kol Midei Meitav Hu Chutz Mikarka, it really meant Chutz Mikarka, that Karka is the worst, and payback the third, according to the Ramah. And the Ramah says, and Kesef graduates to the first. So we have this hierarchy, according to the Ramah, that first you have to give back money. If you don't have money, then you can use Metaltalin. If you don't have Metaltalin, then you use Karka. And that was all through the svara of Rav Papa, who said that everything that's closer to money is more important. That's how the Nemuchi Yosef learned the Ramah. If it's closer to money, then you have a hierarchical preference. So first you have to give money, then Metaltalin, and then finally Meitav. The Rambam, when we looked at him, says the first thing you collect from is Metaltalin. He doesn't even mention money, and then only after the Metaltalin is exhausted, you go to the Karka. Well, that was a brand new shita, like the Rambam often does, and I know often, but he does have his own way of putting things together in the Gemara. And here we were a little stumped, because according to the way we've been learning, according with the Rush, up to this point, Reb Papa said all three are equal, and the Rambam says no, karka is the last alternative, and Rabbeinu Tam says that karka is the first alternative according to Rav Huna. So we were stumped in the Rambam, exactly where he got his halacha, how he put the Gemaras together. Okay. So the next stage that we went into was the Tur. Now the Tur quotes a language similar to the Rambam, also says that the Beis Din, not the Beis Din, sorry, doesn't use the word Beis Din. He says first collect from metaltalin and then you go to karka. But he does mention money, and he says money is like metaltalin. So the Tur is clear that money and metaltalin are first, and only after money and metaltalin do you go to karka. That's what he says. The Nosei Kalim on the Tur have a big fight. What is actually meant by the Tur? So the Beis Yosef says that the Torah is talking about a case to tell us that the Yad Nizak is Elyona. What does that mean? That if the Mazik wants to give karka and the Nizak wants metaltalin, then you listen to the Nizak. Okay, just like in the case of Baal Chov, the Nizak has power here to take metaltalin over karka because it's closer to money, and he has that power. And that's how the Beis Yosef understood the Torah. The Levush Shushan agrees with him, and he, unlike the Tur, says that this is the Shita of the Rambam. The Tur, the Beis Yosef, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. The Shushan says that the Tur is the Rambam, and the Rambam also holds Yad Nizak Elyona, but we notice that the Beis Yosef never mentioned the word Rambam. Okay, he said that the Tur was an independent shita that he learned from his father, the Rush, that Baal Chov has a special din, and even though the Rush said that has nothing to do with Nezikin, because Baal Chov, you gave money, you have a right to give money back, and Nezikin, you didn't give any money, you just lost money. But even though he said that, the Beis Yosef said that he made a combination, and according to the Tur, Nezikin and Baal Chov are equal. Okay, that was the Beis Yosef, and therefore you listen to, just like you listen to the Nizak in Malva, you listen to just like you listen to the Malva in alone, you listen to the Nizak in Nezikin, and he has a right to demand metaltalin over karka. That's how the Beis Yosef and the Levush Shushan understood the Tur. On the other side, we had people who attacked that explanation and said, no, you can't put the Tur into the camp of an independent camp or the camp of the Rambam. The Tur is simply just restating what Reb Papa said. And he's just saying that, look, don't think that when we're talking about a different case, we're talking about a case where the Mazik wants to give metaltalin, and the Nisa keeps yelling. The pasuk says meitav, meitav, meitav. So we don't listen to the Nizak because we know that according to Reb Papa, metaltalin is just as good as meitav, so he has to accept it. And that was the Bach, and that was the Drisha. Okay, so that was a big problem in exactly what Tur held. Okay, now we're in our. Now we're going down to the Shulchan Aruch. Now the question is, who is Shulchan Aruch? The Shulchan Aruch we saw quotes the language of the Rambam, almost literally word for word, with a couple of grammatical changes. Instead of saying Yafi Shibakarka, he says Mu'ula Shibakarka. There's slight different changes there, but basically quotes the language of the Tur. Once again, the Nosei Kalim are having a problem with the Shulchan Aruch. The Shach is going to tell us, which is what we're going to be getting involved, is that the Tur is the Rambam, and there's a din in the Rambam that you must give taltalin first. It doesn't really matter who wants what. The din in the Rambam is taltalin has a in the hierarchy. You have metaltalin, and if you don't have metaltalin, you give karka. That's how he understands Shulchan Aruch, which is the Rambam. And it has nothing to do really with the tour that he wrote. The tour in the Beis Yosef, I'm sorry, he was only commenting on the tour. But when it came to the halach, he pesach like the Rambam. The Sma, who's the same person that said that the tour was really Rab Papa, says here also that the Shulchan Aruch did tshuva and he decided to pesach like Rab Papa. And that's what he says. All right? So there is, there you got it from Har Sinai. Here's the problem, okay? So we're holding here in the Sma, and we want to understand what he has to add to our discussion in the Shulchan Aruch. So here we go again. I hope this. I'm sure this is pretty fast, but we're covering basically ground we did. Yeah. Avi, are you still there?
Yeah, I am here. It's fine. I just had you.
Okay, Besed, I'm going very quickly, but basically it's clear what we're doing here. Our problem is who is the Shulchan Aruch at this point. Okay, so now we're up to the Shach. Now, what's the Shach's work? The Shach is, as we mentioned, is going to say that the Shulchan Aruch is the Rambam. Okay, and he's going to now, and he's also going to say that the Beis Yosef and was correct in his analysis that you, in the Torah, he says that you listen to the Nizak, and he's also going to say that when he came to Shulchan Aruch, he just wrote the Shittas of the Rambam. And in order to do all these reds, the Shachs are now he's going to fight the enemy of the Beis Yosef, so to speak. If we look on the chart, we'll see that the Bach, for instance, fought the Beis Yosef. He's going to remove the rayas, the two rayas of the Bach, and he's also going to remove the Sma's attempt to move the Shulchan to Reb Papa, and he's going to say that's pure Rambam. How is he going to do that? Again, just Begadol, in a large situation here, he's going to say the Bach and the Drish, all you people that are trying to push the Shulchan Aruch into the Reb Papa is because you're imposing Rabbeinu Tam's understanding into the halacha. And really, the Beis Yosef and the Shulchan Aruch are Rambam. And Rambam has a totally different shita than Rabbeinu Tam, a unique shita on how to learn Rav Huna, of all people. Okay, he's not going to learn Rav Huna like the Rabbeinu Tam, and he's going to come out with a halacha exactly what he said, that Kesev and Shaveh Kesev are the first things that you give as a mazik to the nizak, and only if you don't have Kesev and Shaveh Kesev, then and only then do you give karka. Okay, that's the unique sheet of the Rambam, and that's he says is simple in the language of the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so that was our recap. Now I'll show you one other thing, not to lose you, but just to give us a foundation of where we're going. Okay, here is my chart. Do you see this chart? Avi, do you see that?
Yes, wow. Sorry.
Okay,
yes.
Wow. Here's a table, right? It looks very complicated. When I explain it, you'll see it's not complicated at all. I mean, of course, there's a lot of pieces in it, but it's a table. Now, what's nice about this table is I can pick any column. Here's a column of where the Gemaras are mentioned, and I could rearrange this whole table if I want to, which I won't right now. I can sort the table according to the Gemaras. Or I can sort the table according to the precedence of Kesef Subin, any one of them. Okay, my friend Aaron Marcus, who designs interfaces for computer programs. Matter of fact, when I showed him the Visio, he said to me,
"Yeah,
I designed the icons for that. The first editions of Visio. I was the guy that designed the icons." He says, "You use Visio?" He says, "You use Visio?" I said to him, "How can you not learn without Visio?" When he gives lessons, he originally started off as a professor in Princeton in this whole idea of visual communication. Anyway, he used to start his classes off. He loves lectures, still gives lectures. He starts his classes off with a picture of the Gemara page. he says this is what we call great design. And he explains to them how everything is hyperlinked, right? You have over there, you have the Gemara, and everything's hyperlinked. So that's what he said. But so then I showed him this, and not this, I showed him the Vizio. He was very excited to see it. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm using these tools. Baruch Hashem, thank you. We have the Vizio. Now we have the Word. So you're just using the tools, which are very simple tools that are very well designed, in order to take our learning and to make it easier to transmit, so people know where we're holding. We see there's a lot of these little pieces all over the place, and who's holding what and where and when and what. Very easy to get confused. Okay, so when you use these little charts and the flow charts as we're doing, we're going to bring a Baruch Hashem, a lot of clarity. Now, of course, you can't argue with anyone that says they know all of Shas and Poskin, and why do I need that for? You're right. Well, everything here was really done in the head. I mean, the great people that we have are great because they're great. I mean, they held tremendous amounts of information, and not only that, they were able to combine various Gemaras and Rishonim very fluidly. Okay, but for us who are a little bit slower, we need to be shown what they're doing. Now, once we're shown what they're doing, so then we can first, of course, agree with them, disagree with them, ask kashas, give terutzim, but also we have a deep understanding of what the Masara is. What does it mean to learn Torah? And that's why it's so important. We're going through every level, and we're seeing which problems develop at each level. Now, Rabbi Akiva knew all this in his head. He only wrote down the minimum that he was. Every letter he was writing was against the Torah, because it says, Eish Lasos Hashem. Actually, he didn't write down, but Reputa Nasi, something to say it was a little later, whatever. But they were very, very careful in writing down Torah Shel Peh, because it was supposed to be a total system communicated orally. But they had the whole system together, and when they discussed in the Beis Midrash, they were doing it with a clear understanding of the whole system. As we go down the generation, so things which were easy to them, like knowing all of Shas, become difficult to us, and people have to now write out and spell out more, and also there's problems with what is the relationship of the different parts. So here's a little spreadsheet. Okay, basically what it is like this. Remember the Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam on Daf Tes told us that there's 3 different dinim when it comes to Pirion. Now we discussed what is Pirion. I mean, what's the difference between Pirion and Kinyan? Okay, so Pirion, a Kinyan, you make a deal with a person. You say, I'm going to give you X amount of money for the object. You don't get the object unless you give me the money. Everything's on the spot. But here, you owe people money. You haven't paid them. Either you owe a nizak money that you damaged, or you owe a simple a loan, so you have to pay back the loan, or there was a mekach tos, and now the mocher owes the lokeach money, or a poel worked for you all day and he wants to collect his money. So here we have this situation called Pirion, and the beauty of this Rabbeinu Tam, which is a new level that we're going to get into, is to look at the relationships of these 4 people: the Balchov, the Nizak, the Balchov, the Mechiktos, and the Poel. Okay? Now, each one of them have common ground, and each one will have unique ground. Like, for instance, the law of Meitav is, according to everybody, only exists in Nezikin. It's a special Gezeres Kasav in Nezikin. And Baruch Hashem, we have to think about these at the end when we get to the setup and what's doing what, and we have to think of the svara. It says agra d'shmaisa svara. After you understand what's at stake and who's saying what, and the parameters of the halacha, then you have to say, well, what's the svara? Why did Kodesh Baruch Hu say when it came to Nezikin, you do give meitav, and when it came to Balchov, you don't give meitav, and when it comes to Poel, you must give him money and go out and sell it. And then we'll understand the svara behind the Torah instituting all these particular differences in the different types of collectors. Okay, so here's my chart. Okay, this column is called the nosei. So basically, as I just mentioned, we're going to have 4 different topics that we're going to have to speak about. We're going to have Nezikin. What is the mazik supposed to pay back with? The balchov. What is the malva, the lova supposed to pay back with? The mechiktos person, the mocher. What does he have to pay the lokeach back with? And then the poel, the worker. These are the 4 cases that Rabbeinu Tam spoke about, and everybody, all the Rishonim, have to cover all those bases. Now, we're going to focus, the piece that we're in now in the Shach is going to focus on Rabbeinu Tam, okay, because he wants to, as I mentioned, say that everyone who explained the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch up to this point were prejudiced by the Shittas of Rabbeinu Tam. And both the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch happens to be Shittas Rambam, which is a different Shitta than Rabbeinu Tam completely. Okay, so that's going to be his point. He's going to, but to do that, he's going to show you what Shittas Rabbeinu Tam and how it's different than the Rambam. That's his work that he's going to do, and it's a very, very deep work. I mean, we're going to get into it. It's not just a question of putting your head into it, but it's not complicated. It is what it is. And that, this Shach is going to be the kingpin for the rest of our discussion in the Vilna Gaon and the Nachlas David and the Rebbe Simelsa. Really, that Shach is pivotal, okay? And they're either going to be friends of foe, and that's where we're going to continue on. But up to this point, we have to understand what the Shach did, and it's going to take us a little time to appreciate what he did. Okay. Now, to understand the Shach, we have to just first, as again, very briefly, I'm not going to go into details. We're going to do it on spot, but there happens to be 4 places where Rabbeinu Tam talks about the relationship of the Nizak Bachov, the Mechaktos, and the Poel. And this is all, believe me, had nothing to do with me. I'm just bringing what they said and organizing what they said. Okay. But they, you can go on these search programs in Bar Ilan. You can also look up, Yoshev, Meitav, and I did it just for fun, just to see if there's anything left out. And lo and behold, I could not find anything left out. They have all of Shas on their head, when there's 4 places, there's 4 places. There's not 5 and 6 and 7. Okay, but here it is. Here's Rabbeinu Tam mentioned in 4 places. Okay, the first place is where we met him in Daf Tes, right? That was right on Rev Huna. Okay, and he said that the halakha is like Rev Huna, and he held that Kesef and Meitav, both in green, number 1, are your first preference. If you don't have Kesef or Meitav, only then do you give Subin, correct? That was Rev Huna, according to Rabbeinu Tam. What about a62? No, you don't. You can actually give the Subin as it is. You don't have to go out and sell the Subin and give it. Okay? You don't have to bring anyone cash. So that's why I made it a 0. You don't have to go out and sell your Subin, your Meitav, nothing. You give Meitav, and the guy has to accept it. Of course, after proper evaluation. You give him Shavik Kesef in B'David, and he has to accept it. And you don't have to run around and get Zuzim for him. The only place that you'll have to run around and get Zuzim will be in the last position of Poel. Okay? So that's Rabbeinu Tam in Daf Tes. In the Gemara Baba Kama Memba, which talks about, he has those little tiny things called Mechaktos, and there he says exactly what he says in Daf Tes. So both in Nezikin and Mechaktos, the Rabbeinu Tam brings all 3 cases. He says the same thing. In Baba Basra, there he's also talking about Mechaktos. He brings us a surprise. This is going to be the surprise. This case is going to be the surprise of, I'm sorry, I just did something wrong. This case is going to be the surprise of the Shach. Okay? There, lo and behold, he says that the halach is like Reb Papa. How could he in one place say the halach is like Reb Papa and the other place the halach is like Reb Huna? So if you're medaktek on his lashon, in Daf Tes, where we started the whole picture, he said that Rabbeinu Tam kasev b'sefer hayashar. Rabbeinu Tam wrote a book, an extant book, called Sefer HaYashar, and in there he said the halacha was like Rav Huna. However, in Memtes, the Tosfos over there quotes Rabbeinu Tam and says, Margala Babhuma de Rabbeinu Tam. This was a common expression, a proverb. I can't find a better word than that. It was ragil. It was ragil in the mouth of Rabbeinu Tam to say the halacha is like Reb Papa. Now that was a surprise to us because we're just located on one place because we don't have the mind of the Shach. So that was a surprise. So that's going to be the big surprise of the Shach to use that Gemara for Rabbeinu Tam, because without that Gemara, we'll see. I mean, I couldn't make any sense what they have to say. Okay, and then in Kesuvas, he just tells about Kesev and Meitav are equal. He doesn't tell us about Subin. We'll look over there also. All right. Now, everything else, so that's, basically, we're going to have two shitas brought out in Rabbeinu Tam. His oral shita, which is like Rev Papa, and what he wrote, which is like Rev Huna. When it came to all the other cases mentioned in those 4 places, they all have the same din. So we don't have to worry about any machlokeses. What were the 4 cases? When it came to Balchov, clearly in every place that Rabbeinu Tam has mentioned, the Baal Chov must give money first. Only if he doesn't have money does he have to give Subin. And of course, there's no requirement of Meitav. Okay? You can give any type of land. I just said this, but there's no, Meitav is not a requirement because that's a special retirement of Nezikin. Okay? He says, in our Gemara and also in Memtes, he spells out the Mekachtos, and he says he's exactly like the Baal Chov, right? Nothing special about him. He's like a Baal Chov. He did a bad business deal. He misrepresents product. Now you're going to collect your money. So he owes you money. So he has the same exact position of Vaday no Nezikin, and you don't have to run and get money. And that's what he says in the other 2 places. He just doesn't talk about the Mekachtos. The last person is the Poel. And there also he agrees, I mean, he's written exactly the same all over those 4 places. The Poel, you must give money. If you don't have money, you have to cash your Subin, your Karka, whatever you want. You go around, but the Poel must get money. Okay? So that's the situation. Tosfos, in all the places, agrees that the Baal Chov, you give Kesed before Metaltalin, and that's also with the Mechaktos. And the Poel, you always have to give Kesef. The only problem that we have Rabbeinu Tam is going to be in one Rabbeinu Tam quoted in Sefer Yashar says we hold like Rav Huna, and the other Rabbeinu Tam that was quoted orally says the halacha like Rav Papa. Okay, so that's our setup. We'll come back to it and we'll check it out. Now, of course, in this chart I haven't written down what the Rif, the Rambam holds in all these cases. Okay, in Nezikin we know it, and we have to do the other research also, whether there's any machlokas anywhere else, which would be very interesting. But the Rif we said in Nezikin, according to the Rush, held like Reb Papa, where things are equal. The Ramah with a Hey says Kesef is first, Subin is second, and Meitav is third. And the Rambam, which is we're going to discuss, is a machlokas. Some people say Rambam says Kesef and Subin first, and only then Meitav. That'll be the Shach. And the other people will say, come on, you don't know how to read the Rambam. The Rambam is just telling us old riff stories, that everything is equal. You just have to read it the right way. So that's where we're holding in our session. How's that? Okay, but the point is that although it is has a lot of little pieces together, by making these charts, we're able to handle all this material. Okay, and of course we have to go over and we have to study it and we have to get into it at each level and what the interaction is, but that's not the important. The important point is at least we have a clear handle on what's being done. Good. So let's go to the Shach. Oops. Let's go to the Shach. He's over here. Okay. Here is the Shach. Okay. Classical style, the Shach always, when you want to have something to say, which means that what went before was not correct. So you always have to quote what went before. You have to show why it was incorrect, and then you replace it with your theory, and then you have to prove your theory too. Okay, so that's classic, and that's exactly what the Shach is going to do. He first brings us the Sma, who told us that the tour. See, I even forgot about the I'm sorry, the Shulchan Aruch. Let's get that again. See, I even forgot it myself. The Sma was on the Shulchan Aruch. It's the same person that's on the tour. He just changes and told the Sma. So the Shach first brought the Sma and on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Sma said we're really just the Shulchan Aruch was holding like Reb Papa, and the Chiddush of the Shulchan Aruch to talk about you collect from the Nezikin first is a Chiddush in Beis Din. Meaning the Mazik is not around. Now the Beis Din has to figure out what really Reb Papa says Mazik is Yad Mazik al Yona. He could decide what he is. But since he's not around, the Beis Din has to presume what he would have given. That's what the Sma says. So it's really classic Reb Papa, but it's talking about a case where the Mazik's not around. So the Beis Din, when the Beis Din has to collect, because he uses the word Kesha Beis Din Goven, it's Goven Militat on the Chatchila. So that's the Rambam. So the Beis Din says, well, what would the Mazik give if he was here? He'd probably give his metaltalin before his karka. So therefore, the first thing that the Beis Din does is always go down and collects the karka. That's how the Sma takes the Shulchan Aruch and turns it into Rev Papa. Okay? That's what he does. And the Sma said, of course, it's not what the Beis Yosef said in the Tur. Of course, the Beis Yosef in the Tur said the Yad Nizek Hazel Yona. But when the Beis Yosef wrote the Shulchan Aruch, he went to either the position of the Rosh or the position of the Rambam, not clear, but okay. And it's also not the Yershushan who hold that Yad Nizek Al Yona. That's what the Shach quotes as the Sma. Good? Here, the Shach, I mean, it's beautiful to see the form. That's why I'm spending so much time, and not only because we have to get all our pieces together, but also because it's beautiful to see classic form. Classic form means, as I said, first present the opponent's position, then explain why it's wrong, and then you can substitute your new position. That's classic form all the way back to Har Sinai, Gemaras. That's exactly what we do. So the Shach does that. He first presented the Sma, and he says, Ein devorim nechonim. What the Sma did in the Shulchan Aruch by quote-unquote hijacking it and putting the words of Reb Papa is not the Shulchan Aruch b'chlal. And not only is not the Shulchan Aruch, it's not the Rambam, the Mechaber, excuse me, Ein devorim nechonim, the Peshita, the Das HaRambam, which is the Shulchan Aruch, and the Mechaber, who he says is also the Rambam, and the Yershushan. Okay? He says it's like the Yershushan, which means that all of them hold that there's a precedent of metaltalin over karka, and stop trying to change it and just push it back into Reb Papa. And he says that's also the Tur. Okay, so you got it completely wrong, Sma. Don't think that this is Reb Papa according to the Rush and the Riv, and it's not. It happens to be the Rambam, and the Rambam is a special shita. Okay, and I'm going to show to you that this is true, as I will explain. Now, if you don't believe me and my analysis, you should know that the Nemuki Yosef also in Perach HaMocher says it clearly that the Rambam holds islay karka umetaltlin confinen lay to give metaltlin. Okay, so don't think what I'm going to tell you now in my analysis is something that doesn't have precedent. If you read the Nemuki Yosef, he says clearly Rambam holds that if you have metaltalin, karka, give metaltalin first. So don't try to take the Shulchan Aruch, say it's the Rambam and it's really just old Reb Papa. It's not. The Rambam is a chiddush that the mazik have to pay metaltalin first. Okay, and he says not only did Yosef say that, but if you read the word, without trying to into Reb Papa, he says very simply, when the Beis Din has to collect, you mashma that the base, and it's the din totally on anybody's ratzon. We don't listen to what the mazik wants, or we don't think about what the mazik wants, or we don't care what the nak wants. The Rambam is very, very clear. The Beis Din, after the trial, says to the mazik, okay, what do you have? Do you have metalton? You have karka? He says, yes, I have both. You must give him metalton. We don't ask anyone's opinion. And that's the chiddush of the shach, that it's the din and Beis Din that, according to the Rambam, you must give metalton first. That's what he says. V'chein kasav, the Rambam, and he also now wants to bring the Rambam and the Tur. He wants to bring a raya that Shitas Rambam, that the Beis Din always collect metalton first, from the case of Yesamim. Okay, because they say in Yesamim, the Beis Din gives karka first before metalton. So he says, look, if it's true that we always try to figure out what the mazik would have given, and the mazik would have given metalton first, so then the Rambam and the Tur should have said that when it came to the Yisomim. I mean, the Yisomim, the mazik's not around. Their father is dead, right? So we should tie it for the Yisomim. Well, your father would have given metalton, therefore you should, according to you people who think that when the mazik's not around, we always collect from metalton. So he says, forget the svara, that the mazik's not around, and we always say metalton. It's just imagination. Okay, now this is after that whole big introduction. We're ready for this piece. Okay, here we are. This is where we left off. Now we're going to have to, what I'm going to do here is I have hyperlinks, so we're going to have to go from what he says, which is only the tip of the iceberg, and actually look at the texts themselves, okay, because he's in his world. I mean, he has everything on his head, you know what I mean? So 2 words, you're supposed to, he's only talking to like super experts, but we'll slow it down a little, okay? So let's see what he says here. Now he's going to say, but Rabbeinu Tam, Ube Emes, go ahead.
Okay, Ube Emes, where are we starting from?
From here, we're going to start here.
Oh, the Emes.
Be'emes, I'm sorry.
Shebaharash, Parakam Devavakam, Mordechai, V'shar Paiskim Mashma, Shadas Rabbeinu Tam, the Ein Torach Litein Le Metalton. The Rabbeinu Tam holds that he does not have to give him metalton, or Neitz L'Masha Yirtza, the mazik to give what he wants, Ein Mekarkai, Ein Metalton, either karka or metalton, V'chein Kasav Nemuke Yirtza, V'shparka Hamoicha Pirois, B'shem HaMefarshim. V'chein Kasav HaTaisus, V'shparka Hamoicha Pirois, V'reish Bava Kama, with a question mark.
Yeah, that's because we're going to look at all, we're going to, after you just read it globally, which is the Darkei Gemara's method, you first have to see what he says. Then we're going to go into each text and see in detail what's going on over there, because that's what you have to do.
So he's saying the Rush, just a quick overview, the Rush, the Mordechai, other Paiskim,
whoever they are, yeah.
Holds, right? Say Rabbeinu Tam holds that he does not have to give metalton. He could give either karka or metalton.
Unlike the Rambam, who says you have to give metalton before karka.
Right.
Okay.
Now, if you want to stop the Medayik in his Lashon, for some reason, he puts the Nemuki Yosef as a separate idea, the Chen Custom, instead of just saying Harash, Mordechai, Nemuki Yosef. He just says Chen Custom, Nemuki Yosef, Reish Perka Mecha Peres, B'Shem HaMefarshim. I guess maybe that's why he put it separate, because Nemuki Yosef is saying in the name of others. The okay, and the idea again is that he can give whatever he wants. He's not obligated to give metalton.
Okay, so we have two Nemuka Yosefs. Let's see, we have a Nemuka Yosef over here. We're going to have to look at, and now this new Nemuka Yosef in Para, I believe that's in Para, Paraka Para. We have to look at both of them, but. These people hold that Shitas Rabbeinu Tam is that you can give metalton or karka equally. Okay? Then he's going to go on and say, of course, the Rambam doesn't hold this. Okay, but that's before we get to that. We have to go a little now. Now we have to settle down, and we have to now look at what people say and see exactly what's going on. Because when I read this, what was my big kasha here? What did he just say about Shitas Rabbeinu Tam?
that he's holding that he doesn't have to give metaltalin. He could give either karka or metaltalin.
Yeah. What did we learn in Baba Kama, Peites? What was Shittas Rabbeinu Tam?
On that Peites.
Oh, no, I'm excuse me. I'm on Tes.
On
Rav Huna.
Right. So Shittas Rabbeinu Tam over there was that he has to give karka.
Exactly. O Kesef O Karka. And only if he doesn't have Kesef O Karka does he give metaltalin, right?
Right.
So, but how could, so this is the first thing, the first kasha that I didn't understand this one. That's why I question mark here. Every other place I looked into or look into together, he's right. There is a precedent of metaltalin over karka. But over here in Rav Huna, the Tosfos brings Rabbeinu Tam, and he says that the halakha is like Rav Huna. Rav Huna says O Kesef O Karka, and if you don't have both, then you only give metaltalin. So why did you say you can give either one you want? You can't. You have to give you have to give karka first.
Right.
So that's a little problem. We're going to have to, come up with a solution. Okay. I don't know why he wrote you can give or kesef or metaltalin. Okay. So now that's our homework, and not our homework. That's our job for today. Our job for today now is to look at these sources and to see if what the Shach is saying is correct. Right. He's saying the truth of the matter is that when you look at these Meforshim, and not the Rambam, you'll see that Rabbeinu Tam holds that you can give either you don't have to give metaltalin first, okay? And he says you can give either one. So let's look at what we said over here, okay? Let's go quickly to the Rush.
Right.
Okay. Here's the Rush, all nicely we went through, and here's the Rabbeinu Tam quoted in the Rush, right? And it's really a quote of Daf Tes. Rabbeinu Tam Pesach Rav Huna, right? V'kasav b'sefer Yoshav get.
Shlesh Dinim B'Parayin, B'Nezikin, I Kesef, I Meitav Kerav Huna B'De'Islay, V'Yilasle Kol Mila Meitavu.
Stop. Okay, we don't get more than that.
Either Kesef or Meitav, like Rav Huna, if he has, and if he doesn't have, Kol Mila Meitavu. Now, this doesn't say that he has a choice of giving him karka or, he says kesef or meitav. Okay, so meitav means karka.
Yes.
So it's kesef or meitav. What about metaltalin? So he's saying that, are we going to understand that kesef and metaltalin are equivalent?
He says, what does B say? V'im leislei. If you don't have kesef or metaltalin, if you don't have kesef or karka, what do you give?
So clearly that it's a lower level.
Exactly.
Which is not like...
it's not what the words of the Shach is saying.
Shachaman.
Right?
Right.
Problem.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But that's why you have to look at the sources. There's a problem here. I don't know why okay, so let's go back now. So that's 1, 2. Now let's look at the Mordechai. Okay? Here's the Mordechai. Okay? So the Mordechai on... he starts with Baba Kama. Yeah, go ahead. Rem is Aleph. Where did I get all the stuff I told you? My friend has the Bar Ilan. So we just zip, 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 copy, paste, and there I had the Mordechai. Wow. That was nice. Okay, here's the Mordechai.
Based on Rabbanan Meitav Zdei, Postak Alfasi, Karav Papa, Rav Huna B'Red Rav Yeshua, who put in the brackets there.
The brackets is from the text that I got because...
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The Komil Meitam.
Komidi Metal Meitav, that's Rav Papa, clearly is Rav Papa and Rav Huna B'Red Rav Yeshua, so the brackets, I would agree, are correct, right?
Right.
The Taima, Midiparach, Gami Bailam, Metaplam Minavela. Oh, so this we saw once before. That brings a proof from the case of Bailam, Metaplam Minavela. It says, Hashta, Isplay, the Didei, Kama Trefais, Yahivle, that if the Mazik has his own Trefus, right? Let's say he's a Trefa dealer.
Exactly.
He could give the Nizik as many treifas as he wants. So now also the treifa that is dead, which would go to the mazik could take it around and turn it around, give it to the nizik.
Right.
So it must be that he could pay that he could even pay with that.
So therefore, this was the Rush's raya that the halacha is not like Rav Huna. Why? Because if the halacha is Rav Huna, so then if he had kesev and meitav and metaltalin even, if the nizak gave him metaltalin according to Rav Huna, he could not give that back to the nizak, right? Because Rav Huna said you can only give kesev and karka and metaltalin as a poor stepsister. Right? So the very fact that the Gemara did not say that is a proof that metaltalin has to be at an equal level of kesef and karka. Okay, so that was his whole big knockout of Rabbeinu Tam, and that said that's his was the support of the Rif, and so that you give everything. Where Papa is, everything is equal, right?
Right.
Okay, good. V'hai the boy meitav. So when do you give meitav?
V'hai the boy meitav, hani yohiv lei mikarkoi kedepasaka alfasi.
Stop. And that's it. The only time you have to give mikar, you can give all three, A, B, or C. But if you give karka, you must give meitav karka. Correct?
Right.
And that was that's the riff. But here we go with the Rabbeinu Tam.
Avo Rabbeinu Tam polig upasek the gimel dinam chalukin hilim piroyin b'nezikin ay kesef ay meitav bid islay. So he's saying that he has either kesef or meitav. Okay, now let's just avo leslay matzi para afilu subin karav huna dahacha. The like karav huna very direct Yeshua.
Stop.
Okay, 1 second. Let's just go back. So he said the Rif Paskins, like Rav Papa Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Huna, Rabbi Yeshua, called Mila Meitavu, and you could give anything, right? Right away, you give karka or metaltalin.
Right. Just make sure if you give karka, it's the best. That's all.
Right. But Rabbeinu Tam is saying that that according to Rabbeinu Tam, by Nezikin, your first choice is either kesef or meitav. If he doesn't have that, then he could give even subin, which is like Rav Huna and not like Rav Huna Braid Rav Yeshua. Obviously, because Rav Huna Braid Rav Yeshua says everything is equal, whereas Rav Huna says you have levels.
Excellent. So what does Rabbeinu Tam hold according to the Mordechai? Can you give karka or metaltalin? Like the Shach said? The Shach just told us this is one of his places that the Meforshim say that Rabbeinu Tam. No. Right?
You can give meitav. You can give meitav, that's true. You can give kesef, but you can't give metaltalin. The other choice would be other than meitav would be kesef, cash, not movable object.
Shadash Rabbeinu ain't tzarich litin lo metaltalin. What do you mean ain't tzarich litin lo metaltalin? No, worse. If he would have said that one thing, he says ela nosen la mashirtza o mi karka metaltalin. No, wait a minute. We just looked at the Mordechai. We didn't see it there.
Right.
Problem. Don't know how to answer it, but that's a. Well, let's look now at the Yosef. Let's see what he said. Okay. Now he's going to be quoting the Meforshim. Let's look there. It's nice to have hyperlinks.
Yeah, the hyperlinks are very nice.
Yeah, it took a lot of time to do these hyperlinks. What?
This is the forerunner of Oscroll. That's
right.
what I plan on doing for the iPad.
Exactly. Didn't put it out yet for the Daf Yomi?
No, they have. Well, they have the
app.
Oscroll Gemara on Roth out. The app is out, but they don't have any hyperlinks yet.
The hyperlinks will be job.
The only hyperlinks they have is on the daf itself. When you click on
right.
a Gemara, it will hyperlink you to the Rashi or to the Taisus. If you click on a Rashi, it will hyperlink you back to the Gemara. or Tosfos.
Very nice. Okay, they'll eventually do it, but we have to see what my friend Aaron Marcus is right. He always used to say that he knew the world was only waiting to catch up to the rabbis. I mean, the Torah is because the computer is just mimicking thinking, and the Torah is all about thinking, right? So they're really just going to catch up eventually. The only thing is, again, since we're supposed to we use around 2% of our brain or something. We're really supposed to be using 100% of our brain and it's supposed to be filled with Torah and be doing all this thing in our heads. But unfortunately, Hitkatna Siddharth, here we are. Okay, let's look at, by the way, there's two Nemuki Yosef. This is Nemuki Yosef in Hamocha Peros in Baba Basra. Okay, not the one that we saw in Nezikin, but it doesn't matter. We'll see what he says here. Okay, what does he say over here? B'Shem HaMaforshim. Okay, I had to highlight the whole line. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to just a piece of it. Ula-inyin Nezikin. You see these last two words?
Ula-inyin Nezikin. Yes. He'elu harbe min ha'mafarshim. Demati l'mitin le afilu karkai. V'afilu habe le'zuzeh. So the Nemuki Yosef is saying that many mafarshim will say that he could give karka even if he has cash. Of course, because he has to follow those rules. The Rambam sounds like he's saying the Rambam is mashma that you cannot give karka first.
Right.
And you must give metalpon first.
Right. Right. Now here, he doesn't say, he just says, Ole harbe min ha'maforshim. He doesn't say it's Rabbeinu Tam.
Right.
So the Shach is saying he means Rabbeinu Tam. Right? But I don't think, here he says Rabbeinu Tam. Okay. 1 second, wait, there's a Rabbeinu Tam up here. Oh, Cherem. Because of Rabbeinu Tam Zal, no, that's Beschir, but Poel, right? Beschir is a Poel, a few lace zuzeh, boy, we know Mitrach, Umezabne, Upara, not Poel, and he brings a Raya. Okay. No, this is just Poel. Rabbeinu Tam here in the piece, we can at least read him in here. If Harbe Rabbeinu Tam, that he just not clear, then Rabbeinu Tam will say you can take either one. Okay, so we have a way at least of reading them in, and we could say tzrichi, and we have to read this Nemuchi Yosef a little more carefully. Is the Rabbeinu? So far we have two very difficult questions: the Rush and the Mordechai. And here he says Nemuchi Yosef in Mocher Pers, which we saw, wrote in the name of the Meforshim. Okay, that you can take either one. Okay, and the Meforshim could be Rabbeinu Tam. That's debatable, but it could be. All right. So now he said, V'chein kasav ha-Tosfos, and here is the big surprise. Okay, here he has a very, as we said, there's two different quotes of Rabbeinu Tam. So let's look at this Tosfos here. This is in Perech HaMocha Peres, which we just looked at with the Nemuchi Yosef. Okay, so. Again, it would be go into this Gemara over here more carefully, but let's not. Okay, just because I don't want to take so much time in doing it, but we eventually will have to get here. Okay, now this Gemara. We really have to get into. Let's just try to shortcut it here. Here, he says the Baal Chov. Oh, what happened here? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. This is supposed. At the end of this Gemara, he quotes these famous Margala Bapume de Rabbeinu Tam. Right? It was ruggled to come out of the mouth of Rabbeinu Tam. The following phrase. Go ahead.
A Baal Chayv. He is leizuzin lematzi masalak le'ela bezuzeh. So he's clearly saying that he has to give mezuzah.
That's in Baal Chov, and that's the consistent throughout all the Rabbeinu Tams.
Right, because of the Svar. Everybody agrees with the Svar that since the Malva gave the Leva money, the Leva has to give the Malva back the money.
Right.
If
he doesn't have, of course. Oh, Nizakin, look what he says.
Afilu isle motzi l'saluke b'may deboyi.
So Islay Zuze, I just wrote.
He has Zuze. He could still give him with whatever he wants. The kol mili meitav hu karapapa karapuna v'reder of Yeshua.
There it is.
Right. So he's saying clearly he can give him whatever he wants.
Exactly.
There's no preference.
Right. And he's also saying the halacha is like Reb Papa, right? And not like Reb Huna. In Tess, he said that he was quoted in Sefer Yoshav to say that it was like Reb Huna, the halacha. Over here in Mocher Peros, he says the halacha is like Reb Papa. The difference is over there, he said that's what Reino Tam wrote in Sefer Yoshav. In Sefer Yosha, he actually, when it came to writing down the words, he wrote it. Here it says Margal Bapuma. He used to say it all the time. Okay, but at least the Shach here could make his statement. The other places, I don't understand how the Shach could have said what he said in Rabbeinu Tam. It seems that all the other places, they're quoting Rabbeinu Tam as Rev Huna, and that you can only give metalpon when you don't have karka.
Right.
But in this Gemara, he, with his search program, he saw it, and it's definitely true that Rabbeinu Tam is quoted as saying, like the halacha is like Rav Papa. And it's also, this is not, what did the Rush do with this Gemara? So the Rush must have held really what Rabbeinu Tam said in Sefer Yosha was the Iker. And whatever was reported orally was, in the base midrash and discussions, or somehow when it came to writing down the halacha, he changed his mind. I can't answer it. But the Rush didn't use this Gemara. The Rush used the Gemara in Tess, which was Sefer Yosha. So the Shach now is pulling out this Gemara and is saying that according to Shittas Rabbeinu Tam, you can do either one equally. So maybe that's what he says. I can't argue what he says, but that's what he says. But at least he has one makor where Rabbeinu Tam is saying that all three things are equal. Okay? And there's no precedent of one over the other.
Right.
Okay. Now this he says Reish Baba Kama. Now Reish Baba Kama, the only thing that I could find in Reish Baba Kama is where we started off with this whole piece, right? This is around Rafuna. Right?
Right.
So, and the Tosfos clearly says here, Rabbeinu Tam Ein Svara Kain, he doesn't like the rift, and Mefarish Yesh Gimel Dinim. And what's the first din? Nezikin, O Kesev, O Meitab. V'leslei, if you don't have Kesev and Meitab, then even Subin. Okay? So it looks like, again, he quoted this as saying that there's a precedent you can give what you want, and here there isn't. You have to give metaltalin before you give Meitab, right?
Right.
So this is a big problem in the Shach. I'm just observing what he says. Maybe down along the line when we get into the later Achronim, they're going to bring up these things and either try to answer it or any way they want. But right here, just looking, the first thing I always say, you have to be a good scientist or detective, the facts and nothing but the facts. Okay, let's first be observant Jews, observe what's being said, and note all the problems. Okay, now here we have Gimel, okay, which is what we just read in Para, in Baba Kama, okay, Mem Vav, B'Shem Rabbeinu Tam Mashma. That's what we just saw, right? Before Rabbeinu Tam, before Shtahoda, coming in Baba Kama, Tes Vav. Oh no, this we didn't read yet. This is going to be another. We're up to here. Okay, so up to here, let's just get where we're holding. He's made a statement that Rabbeinu Tam holds O Karka or Metaltalin. We didn't see that in the Rush or in the Mordechai or in Tess. The only place we did see it was in Hamocha Peros. Okay? Fine, up to Adkan. Now let's just look at Rabbeinu Tam in Parakapar. This is the fourth time Rabbeinu Tam is mentioned. Oops, you still with me? Did I lose you? Wait, Avi, did I lose you? Oh, good, very good. Let's look at this Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, let's just jump quickly. Here's some Gimel Dinim, and here's what he has to say in Nezikin. Let's just look what he says.
Afilu is lezuzay, matzilas to look at ba'ara. Rav Huna ben Parakama, I guess of a metav. Papa Rav Huna ben Rav Yeshua called me a metav. So it sounds like he's wishy-washy.
No, exactly. Well, what's going? He's putting in apples and oranges here. What's going on here? How do you read this?
He's saying Afilu is lezuzay, matzilas to look at ba'ara. The Rav Huna ben Parakama, I guess of a metav.
It's true that Rav Huna said, "Oh, Kesef Metav." Remember, Rav Papa never said anything about Kesef, did he? Rav Papa was just answering the question of what do you do with Taltal and Metav. I mean, with Subin and Metav. He never said anything about Kesef over there, Meforish. Okay, but Rav Papa said clearly that you have a choice: oh, Kesef or Metav, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah, but what about Subin now? What did he say in tests? What did he say about Subin?
Rav Huna?
Yes, Rav Huna.
So he says Subin comes if you don't have the other thing.
Exactly. So now, why is Tosfos now all of a sudden jumping to Rav Papa?
So he's saying that according to he's not. So that's why he's not really giving you the halacha. He's talking like both. He's saying Rav Papa Rav Huna ben Rav Yeshua called me metav, meaning to say that since you have to give kesef and metav first, you can really give anything first.
Right. Now, our only problem is how did he take these two things and put them together in one halacha when they're not the same
right
shita?
Right.
So I think what the Shach wants here is like this. Remember, the Shach wants to say that Rabbeinu Tam is holding you can give what you want, right? A, B, or C. So what he does here is he reads the Tosfos the following way. We see from Rav Huna what? Can you give A or B? Do you have a choice to give A or B equally? That means Metav or Kesef.
Yeah.
Kesef or Metav. You have your choice. You, the mazik, have to there's no such no nizak al yad yona. Forget about it. You have complete choice to give kesef or karka, right? Now Rev Pop argues with Rev Huna as to metaltalin. Now Rev Papa, remember, did not talk about kesef, did he? He only talked about metaltalin and karka. So Tosfos is importing what Rav Huna said, that there's a choice between kesef and karka, meaning they're equal alternatives, and saying the halacha, however, is Rav Papa when it comes to metaltalin, and that's a third alternative.
Again, so the halacha is like Rav.
What is Rav Huna arguing about with Rav Papa? They're really arguing about
whether or not kesef and metav it takes a precedent over metaltalin.
Exactly. So really, exactly, is metaltalin a poor stepsister or not? Rav Huna says yes. Rav Papa says no. Right. So Tosfos is saying, as far as kesef and karka, everybody agrees that they're equal. That's even Rav Papa, that kesef is equal to karka. In other words, on that point, Rav Papa agrees with Rav Huna that kesef is equal to karka. He only disagrees on Subin. Rav Huna says it's a poor stepsister. He says no, it's equal.
Okay.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So,
okay. So there we can also read. There we can also read what the Shach wants, to say that Rabbeinu Tam really holds the halacha is all three are equal. Because here all he wants to do is to show us that the kesef and the metav that was not spoken about in Rabbeinu Tam was clarified with Rav Huna, and Rav Papa just disagrees about metaltalin. In other words, yes, you can use kesef and metav equally, and unlike Rav Huna, the halacha is that you can also use metaltalin equally.
So then why did he bring down Rav Huna at all? Why didn't he just Rav
Because Rav Papa never spoke about kesef.
Okay.
We never heard about kesef in Rav Papa.
Yeah, but Rav Papa doesn't need to talk about kesef because according to him everything is equal.
We don't know that. All you know that's equal.
Yeah, but the Svarah says that's equal.
Ah.
The Svarah says that the Talmud is equal to karka because it can be converted to kesef.
No.
So if you're saying if it can be converted to kesef, so kesef is the best thing. So then kesef for sure is as good as metaltalin.
Now, do you remember a man called the Ramah with a hay?
Yeah, I remember that.
What did he say? That kesef is even, according to Rav Papa, kesef is even better than metaltalin.
Right, okay. So you're saying he's coming to mafkia from that?
Exactly. Because kesef is the real thing, quote unquote. Right? That's how the Nuuk Yosef learned the Raman. And Tosfos wants the mafdakli. Be nishmar from that. And to say that the only argument between Rav Papa and Rav Huna really is in the position of Shavik Kesef. But as far as Kesef and Shavik Kesef, because Kesef and Karka, they're equal. There's no precedent of Kesef over Karka. According to Rabbeinu Tam.
Okay.
Okay, that wasn't easy. I mean, but I had to think. I had to think about that because l'chara he's mixing apples and oranges. Well, what are you doing? Tell me the halach is evil like Rav Huna. Tell him like the halach is like Rav Papa. Well, what is this cholent over here? So that's why I said it. Rav Papa never spoke about kesef. Kesef is even better than metaltalin. It's definitely not going to be worse, but maybe it's better than metaltalin, right? So he's saying no. Rav Papa and Rav Huna agree that kesef and Karka are the same. The only thing that they're arguing about is metaltalin, and Rav Papa says metaltalin is equal to kesef, and therefore it's equal to Karka cell. That's the only thing that they're arguing about. Okay, but here, what did the Shach want? The Shach wanted to say that Rabbeinu Tam holds that you get all three equally. And here we can figure out how he did it. Now, even though he said in Test that the halach is not Rav Huna, he said it clearly there in Sefer Yasha. But here he has at least two versions of Rabbeinu Tam that are quoted where you could learn that Rabbeinu Tam holds like Rav Papa that everything is equal. Okay?
Okay.
It's not easy. Okay. So, okay. Let's, we have a few more minutes. We can start the Rambam. So that's what he says here. He says, Uperikapar reish ayin base, we just looked at, B'Shem Rabbeinu Tam, Umashmasham, because we had to read all that, right? We had to read that. He didn't say clearly that everything was equal, but by bringing those two apples and oranges together, we put it together that he could say that the things are equal. It's Mash, the Hodo, Kimna Bashat, Baba Kama, Tes Amad Aleph, Rav Huna, Oma, O Kesev Omtav, Dahainu, Shari, Shut Biado, Liten Ezish Yirtze. Okay? What does that mean? Just translate. I'm sorry, I'm reading too quickly.
So you think Rabbeinu Tam says, in the beginning of Baba Kama, and Rav Huna says, I guess the Etav telling us that the Rishus is in the hand of the Mazik. It's up to the Mazik to give whichever he desires, either Kesef or Metav. Right,
that's the halacha. No Yad Mazik Aliyona, no Nizik Aliyona. The law is the Mazik can pick whatever he wants between Kesef and Metav. Now there's a little clokus about Subin. Reb Papa will say it's equal, and Reb Huna says no. And some Tosfos hold like Reb Papa that it's equal, and some Tosfos say like Reb Huna. What can we do? But Tosfos, when it comes to choices, it's a legal decision. There's no preference of one over the other. There's no hierarchy. It's just a question of, okay, if you hold like Rav Huna, maybe the Subin is the poor stepsister, but you choose. And that's what he wants.
Right.
But the Rambam, he's going to say, since the Rambam said you go me'ataton lechatchila, he's going to say that the Rambam is going to hold that there is a hierarchy. Okay? So all you guys that were explaining the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch, like Reb Papa, that's because you're prejudiced by the Shittas of Rabbeinu Tam,
Right.
that you have to give everything equally. But the Rambam, I'll show you, is not learning that way. That he's learning there's a hierarchy. Now let's see how he does. This is like brilliant stuff over here. You know what I mean? Like, I used to be in one of these, I was always the bottom of the smart guys, but when I went to high school, so a guy would get 99, he would have a nervous breakdown. You know what I mean? There's people like that. You know what I mean? So I know what I was doing there, but they had guys like that. So if you think about how many of these super gaonim do you have in every generation, right? They're not very few. A certain percent of 1% of the population, right? So when it comes to the meforshim that we have, that's not only the small 1% of every generation, it's the small 1% of all the generations, because we only really have a handful, 50, 60, 70 people who reach the level that they can deal with the Torah at this level, So when we're dealing with these people, they're just very, very, whatever you think Einstein is, he's doesn't even come on the board game to these people. The amount of information they have, and this is one little halacha, right? They're dealing with all of Shas, all over the place, and they see everything simultaneously, and they're arguing about the issues very, very intensely. So it's awesome. It really is awesome. Like this Shach, you can start to see he does an awesome amount of work here, because everybody's stumped on this Rambam. He doesn't make sense. They're trying to shove him into the old world view of Reb Papa. But he grabs the bull by the horns, and he says what the Rambam says he means. The din is you give metaltalin first and only then karka. We never saw that. Everybody's scratching their heads. We never read any Gemaras. We see all of Shas. We never saw that metaltalin is better than karka. We saw that karka is better than metaltalin, or that they're equal, right?
Right.
So he's going to show you now how the Rambam, who's called the Nesher Hagadol, because he sees all of Shas and he handles it, he's going to show you how the Rambam learned our Gemara. Okay, let's see if we can do it. But it's very, very difficult. The later people have problems with this line, but I think I understand how to read it, but we're going to have to go through it slowly. Well, that's a Rambam. Unlike I just wanted to say, unlike the Rabbeinu Tam, who said there are equal alternatives, Ozeh, right? The Rambam is not going to.
So what are you saying? Aidinai al kesef hechad islam metaltalin. Aidinai b'meitav gabe karka hechad leslam metaltalin.
Stop.
So when he's saying it's kesef or meitav, it means like this. Kesef is, so it sounds like he's saying that you don't say that there's a choice of kesef or meitav. It sounds like he's saying that there are two dinim that he's saying. He's saying there's a din called kesef, which has to stand on its own, and there's a din called meitav, which has to stand on its own. So he's saying that the din is, if the din is kesef, that means to say that even that where he has metaltalin, he has to give kesef. Aidinai al kesef hechad islam metaltalin. That's what it sounds like he's saying, that he has to give kesef where he has metaltalin.
Correct.
Or, if he's not giving kesef or metaltalin, and he's giving karka, aidinai b'meitav gabe karka hechad leslam metaltalin. Then he's giving, when he's dealing with karka, then he has to give meitav karka. So what the Rambam is telling us, is that you have a choice. Either you're dealing with kesef and metaltalin, and that has a din unto itself, or you're dealing with karka, and then that has a din unto itself. He's not telling us if you have metaltalin and karka, what do you do?
Excellent. So we have to explain this. It doesn't make any sense, right, L'chara?
Right. Well, the second one makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Okay, if he's giving karka, he has to give meitav the karka. The first one.
Oh yeah, well that's obvious, right?
Yeah,
that's obvious.
Well, there's two things that are problematic. Number one is that he's dividing up kesef and meitav into two separate cases.
Right.
We're not dealing with the same individual case of mazik and ezik. It's either kesef, where we're dealing with somebody who has kesef and metaltalin, and meitav is dealing with somebody who has meitav. where until now we always learned that the kesef metav is dealing with somebody, the mazik, has both kesef and metav. And now the question is, what is it given?
Right. So how could he read that? I mean, how could he do it? How could he say that that's Rav Huna?
Right. Right.
So a lot of people are going to jump on him here, but I think I think I understand what he wants to say. This is going to be one of the sore points in the later people. They're all going to jump on this and say, what are you doing? This is crazy. Right. Who's talking about metalton? First of all, how do you learn an O as a hierarchy, right? Or like you said, two dinim. And secondly, who talked about metalton in here? Right. If you have kesef, you give metalton. If you don't have metalton, then you give, you know what I mean? Who spoke about it?
Right.
So it's gewaltig. I mean, where did the Shach looks like he just went into outer space over here. In other words, technically he like crowbarred in the Rambam somehow into this Rav Huna. But like, what does that have to do with reality? Who would ever read that way, right? So now I'll tell you, I mean, I thought about it a lot because it's like so unusual. Just one second, I got to get rid of these phone calls. Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. I should have gotten rid of these things. Okay. Now, the way I'm going to read... Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you have to go. Okay. Let me just tell you in 2 seconds. There's something A or B, right? Which is an equal or, right? But there's something there, it's an unequal or, meaning that when I say you can pay with cash, check, or money order. So that's an equal or. Give me anything. But sometimes it could be you can pay with check, and only if you don't have a check. I mean, I would really like cash. Excuse me. If you don't, in other words, cash, check, and money order is a priority also. It's not just unequal. So when Rav Huna said, "Oh, kesef v'meitav," he meant you either pay kesef and not. In other words, if you either pay kesef. Excuse me. You either pay kesef, and if you don't have kesef, you pay meitav. Okay. You either give me kesef, and if you or kesef, your money or your life, right? Give me liberty or give me death, right? Or kesef. If you don't have kesef, give me meitav. Reb Nachman said to him, "Hey, what do you do with Yashiv?" To which Rav Huna said, "B'delay slay, not delay slay two of them, but delay slay kesef. Yashiv is only when you don't have kesef." So in other words, again. Give kesef, and if you don't have kesef, then you give meitav. What do you do with yashiv? That's when you don't have kesef. So you give kesef, and if you don't have kesef, you give metaltalin, and if you don't have kesef and metaltalin, then you give meitav. That's how it's going to work out. But we're gonna go into that, okay? Because it's like brilliant work over here, and then he's going to prove it by these other people, which is even more startling. But that's going to be his Rambam. So we'll go into this the next time, Zed Hashem, okay?
Next week is
yes, Tzom Gedalia. Oh, okay. So you want to learn after Tzom Gedalia? I mean, I'll probably be pretty, So when is good for you? After Tzom Gedalia, next day, or we're going to not do it? Or
see, could I do Thursday? No, Thursday I have another meeting already set up.
Maybe a little later. Think about it, okay? Just give me an email what you decide. Okay. I'm pretty flexible. I think also if on the Tzom, I'm not going to have so much energy, and it's, chaval.
Right. I know.
Okay?
I also feel the same way. Morning I start with less energy.
Exactly. Okay, great. So just give me an email, and we'll sort of, whatever works, okay? We'll try to do it.
Okay.
Great. Be well. Have a great day.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Call